What's up? What's up? What is up? Another Friday, another opportunity to get the crew together and record the Ball Hog Sports Talk podcast. You know what it is. It's where sports, business, and entertainment collide. We're happy to be here yet another Friday. We're happy to be on the earlier side of things. It's real early in Central Time. So the type of sacrifices we make to bring you rough, rugged, and raw sports, business, and entertainment is, they're ideal, baby. This is what we do. We give the people what they want. This week's episode is going by the title of Too Far. In life, we know in so many situations, people sometimes go too far. And in this week, we got tons of examples of just too far. We've heard the saying, when keeping it real goes wrong. It's an example of too far. You know, when you give someone an inch, they want a mile. In most situations, it's too far. This week's episode, we got a ton of stories in sports, business, entertainment that people went a little too far, and we going to call them out on it. We going to do it the only way we know how to do it, rough, rugged, and raw. We'll do the introductions when we get back, but for now, just fasten your seatbelt if you have never been a part of the experience. That is the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Welcome, and let's go.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Cause this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B Brown, ESQ, aka the Ball Hog, aka the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're gonna give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go.
You know what it is. It's another Friday, a summer Friday, if you will. But I said I'm going to go ahead and put on my shirt and tie because I decided if we going to have an episode called Too Far, I'm going to go too far this morning. I put on my little summer hat because we're coming to the end, y'all. And you know, because for me, I'm a youth football coach. And when it gets to 8:30 and it starts getting dark and you enjoy the whole summer of bright daylight up until about 8:45, you know the summer is coming to an end. So enjoy it. Make sure you enjoy it because in a few months we're going to be freezing up here in the New York City area. You got my man, the Big Flow Show, coming to us from the Central Time Zone. What's up, Big Flow Show?
Man, what's good, America? What's good? And I say that temporarily because America's going to be in my rear view pretty soon.
There you go, man. International pimping. Are you allowed to tell the people where you're going? I know Secret Service sometimes don't allow celebrities to tell.
We already had the dogs go through and sniff out everything, make sure we're going. We're going to go to a location slightly east of here, a few hours in the air. Now we headed to Barcelona. Anybody got any funny ideas? Listen, I got a SWAT team staying in my crib, so don't even do it. It's even more dangerous when they're not here. They ain't try it.
They got equipment for them type
hyenas. I got an eagle on the I don't even want to come home without checking in first, so don't mess up. But we're gonna go to Barcelona for a little while, and then we're gonna shoot over to Ireland and watch the beginning of college football and the start of my son's football career. Although it looked like he might be redshirted, so we may not see him in the game, but we're gonna hope. I don't want nobody to get hurt. But if a couple of those receivers catch COVID, and my son could just, you know what I'm saying? Like asymptomatic COVID, and my son could
just protocol.
Just some protocol. Catch him and look, keep.
we hold that thought, though, because we should talk about it. We are going to talk about some NCAA football and whether or not football remains in NCAA. We should also, just from a personal standpoint, talk about that decision. Now, for those of you who don't know, red shirt is when a player essentially is there, he's practicing, but they've decided that they're going to maintain and protect that particular player's eligibility. And that's why sometimes you say you got 5 to do 4. You have 5 years in order to play 4 years. And so they're protecting that eligibility. So I'd love to hear your take on it, man. You hear people that argue one way or another about redshirting. I tended to like it. I redshirted as well. But I want to hear your stance on it. But we'll get to that part later in the show. We got on the East Coast. Also, you better be cherishing this, because Windy City, you sure better cherish this beautiful summer. But we got on the East Coast. It's gonna get cold here too. We got none other than ETP Ellis, the producer. How you doing this morning, my brother?
Feeling great. I'm actually about to hop this flight to Chicago and raid Big Flo's fridge while he's away.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Hey,
So
you
my
can
dog
mess
is
with- you
my
mess with a
dog
lot
is
of
left
things in this
tooth
house.
dominant. So when he comes, he's left tooth dominant. When he lock in and he starts to jiggle it, that left
Sorry,
tooth.
I'll bring enough chocolate for everybody.
I lean with it, lean with it.
Let's get in though, fellas, because it's been an interesting week, man. And we titled it Too Far. Those who have participated in the experience that is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, you know how we do it, man. We like to take the stories of the week, the topics that we're going to address, and create at least double, if not triple and quadruple entendres as to what the meaning means. This week we went simple because the stories that we're going to address literally are just about people's inability to stay within bounds. It's like literally the saying, if you give me an inch, you want a mile. In sports business and entertainment this week, a lot of people were given an inch and they took a mile. Now, before we hop into the buffoonery, like we ask every week, we ask people humbly, please like, please comment, please share, please tag a friend, please tag a foe, please tag anybody that you know. I'm sitting here sending it to people now, trying to welcome them into the experience that is. It's early Friday morning before y'all even get the coffee started. So we gonna hop in. But when you think about the idea of going too far this week, at the top of the list of going too far is that tragic story in Dallas. And when I say tragic, I mean tragic. I have said on this show several times, I love youth football. I love youth sports in general. But I made the transition now. You've heard the AAU basketball stories over the summer. I made the transition now. I'm now a football coach. I changed hats, changed sports. But unfortunately, the buffoonery hasn't changed. It was less than, 2 months ago, we talked about me being in an AAU basketball game and some fool pulled out a gun because of an argument with parents. A loaded gun that, thankfully, Lord, thank you, it jammed in a full recreational facility of people watching basketball games, and it created a stampede of people running out. And I'm thinking I'm never going to see that again. I talked to a lawmaker just in my job. I was talking to someone a state official, and I said to this person in Massachusetts that I think there should be federal charges against people that do something like that. Because the amount of fear that I saw in everyone's eyes, and as a parent, I was particularly looking at my own kids, and the fear in my wife's eyes. Shout out to my wife. Today is our 16th wedding anniversary.
What?
16 years. True.
No, let me start talking to y'all about his wedding. I don't know if I already put that out there.
It was DeColdest. Well,
We listen to that. Jet Magazine was there. Oh,
but it's amazing that moment where someone went way too far, and to see the fear in my wife's eyes when she lost my youngest son for a split second. I recall that, and never in a million years, I think less than 2 months later, we would have a story so tragic that the gun didn't jam. People weren't able to escape. Someone went beyond what I thought was the last mark of too far. Someone went beyond that, and a man's life was taken. For those of you who don't know what I'm referring to, there was a youth football game in Dallas, and we made the story about a former NFL player who it seems like might have at some point agitated the situation. We made the story about the suspect who's turned himself in, who's the brother of that former NFL player. And I just want to pivot for 1 second and make the story about Michael Hickman. Because Michael Hickman, 43 years old, on all accounts, was a good coach, a good man, in front of his own family, wife and kids, in front of his own extended family, the kids that he has volunteered his time for and on behalf of over several years, on behalf of those people, his life was taken senselessly, violently. And in my estimation, this is almost Guinness World Book of Guinness World
Book of World Records.
There you, thank you. You know what I mean? My southern drawl.
Well, I'm
Guinness Book of World Record. This is Guinness Book of World Record level too far. So, like we do a lot of times here, I just want, for not only on behalf of Michael Hickman and his family, but on the behalf of sensible people that understand what youth sports is about, and then to highlight Michael Hickman. Let's do just a very brief moment of silence. When you wake up for a game on a Saturday or Sunday morning, depending on where you live and where you know what days you guys play, you're getting your game plan ready. You're getting your water bottles ready, baby. You know what I mean? You're thinking about your game operations. How you gonna get your substitutions in? You're thinking about adjustments you're gonna make when you shift into 4 wide and as a defense coordinator, what adjustments am I? You're not thinking that you're gonna lose your damn life. Guys, I don't even know what better way to start than to just hop on in, but I have been agitated that people have made it about this former NFL star, and very few people have mentioned that man by name, Michael Hickman, 43 years old, who lost his life. ETP, you've been on my coaching staff. Big Flow Show, we've talked about the altercations and just the overall bravado and violence that seems to be in the air at certain sporting events. And unfortunately, a lot of times those sporting events feature families that look like ours. Black athletes with black families, and this bothers me to the core, gentlemen. What did you guys think about it? Where do we go from here? Do we just put the whole thing, the whole youth sports, we just throw it away? Because it starts a lot of times on social media, where some grown man or woman, some adult, is writing a check that the kids got to cash. And two adults going back and forth talking about who want the smoke. Adults are messing up youth football. Any and all would accept that. But even in this warped world where adults are acting more childish than the kids, even in this warped world when all of these parents think that little Johnny at 9 years old has to score 3 touchdowns in order to protect his, imminent Alabama offer, even in this crazy world when adults get way too upset with referees that are humans and susceptible to mistakes and human behavior. Even in this warped world, never did I think that a man would lose his life because of an altercation at a youth football game. That's the definition of too far. We have gone too far. Fellas, what do you guys think, man? I hate to lead with that story, but how dare we not, in honor of Michael Hickman, but also it's a game that we all love, man, that we put our own kids in these youth sports environments. It's time for us to rein this thing back in. What do you guys say?
I kind of say, like, in some ways, like, why are we surprised? And the reason why I say why are we surprised, if you look at the way things go, I'm gonna give an example. We see football players do crazy behavior, right? You see somebody, drinking and driving, doing something completely nuts, being violent in public, just doing crazy things that like are nutty.
Right.
And we say, how can this person do that? He's an NFL player. He makes all this money. He's doing all these things. How can he do that? And I say, that's how he became a football player. That's how he became that. This is a crazy man's game, right? This is a game. It is. To run across the field and throw your body into some full speed, most people don't do it. Like your nature is to flinch, to cover up. Those are your things. You got to fight those and just try to kill somebody. So when they do things that
Pun intended. No, pun unintended. Try to kill somebody.
I didn't get there. This is a different
Oh,
example.
my bad.
You know what I'm saying? You cross-pollinating. But at the end of the day, like crazy people play football, make a lot of money. And the crazier, the better, make a lot of people nutty. Not everybody's nutty, but you got to have a little bit of a screw loose to come out there sometimes. And we think about some of the people that have succeeded based on their craziness, even more so than their raw talent. But they're just willing to come out and do whatever. So when they do crazy things, we're so shocked, but you're like, that's not the chicken or the egg. I mean, like, this is how they did it.
Yeah,
so
it's a part
when
of
you
it.
look and see sports, I don't even want to give some of these stories, but Big Ten signing $1 billion contracts. People want to watch it. Sports, the reason why people make so much money in sports is because we want to be moved emotionally as people, right? We want to, be super excited a couple times a week and find a team, and we're looking forward to it and something, whatever. Otherwise, life on this rock can be a little bit boring. But sports give you an opportunity to release, to get excited, to band together, the us against them, and this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. So does it surprise you in a sport, in a thing that pays people millions and pays organizations billions of dollars for the opportunity to be moved emotionally, that some people's emotions get moved to a level that they no longer can control themselves? So now it seems crazy as we sit here to think that how can something happen in a youth football game? And for those of you who've never been associated with youth sports, you probably not listen to our show, but those of you never been associated with youth sports, you're like, how can someone ever? It's so outrageous. How can someone be so moved that they would want to kill somebody? And I would say to you, you've never been involved as a youth football coach, because that happens every week, where the emotions get to the level where somebody's so upset, so mad, whatever. And then you find out that this dude is got this professional job that you can't believe it. But that's why they're so into the sport.
Yeah.
Now, I've managed over 9 years of youth sports coaching to never shoot anybody. I don't know why you can't manage to not shoot anybody.
And when you said now and pause, as your unsolicited counsel, I was going, don't you admit nothing on here right now. I thought you were about to say something else.
I've never shot anybody. I've never proved that. I don't let myself get that caught up in it. You know what I mean? I've always been able to keep myself calm. But looking back, whoever Twalib, whatever his Akabar, what's his name? Akamai. But
Aqib Talib is the NFL brother.
No, but he didn't do it. I feel that's the thing too. When you NFL do,
he get his name. But the rumor is that he instigated.
He swung
the
first.
brother.
He didn't know he brought the strap.
Aqib Talib.
He just was going to get a couple fines for that. You know what I mean? If the dude did something, but like that dude is probably thinking, I cannot believe I shot this cat. But he got worked up.
The NFL brother did say it's one of the worst moments. I don't know how it could be one of the worst moment of his life, that he was there witnessing and was probably a big part of it. I will say this. What's up, man? My man Nick Butler in the house, who not only is involved in youth sports, who's both not one but two of his kids have excelled throughout youth sports and high school sports, and not one but two of his kids, his son and his daughter, are now NCAA track stars.
Okay.
Daughter just started at University of Georgia. Son is, I know he made it to the finals. I don't know what place he won.
She can run a little bit. She can run.
She can run. And the son can run. They both can run the 400.
You don't go to Georgia out there with slow times.
And the only reason I give that quick background for him is I would love to hear, not only Nick, if you're still in the Ball Hawk Sports Talk room, thank you. And again, appreciate your support. But I'd love to hear from people who do officiating like Nick. What are some of the craziest stories? Are you surprised by this, that it's gone too far? What,
no.
What, and then most importantly, Nick, and anyone who has been an official or has officiated.
Was it a ref or coach that got shot?
A coach.
Okay, so
but they were arguing about a call of some sort. But I think initially the violence went through the official, and then you got this melee, and all of a sudden someone pulls their gun out, and a man loses his life in front of his kids and his wife and the organization that he's volunteered so many hours to benefit the kids. It's like, how do we get there? So my most important question to, and Nick, if you could chime in, or anybody that's done officiating, is how do we pull this back in? Because it's one thing to acknowledge that we've gone too far. So asked and answered. If the question is, have we gone too far? Hell, mother effing yes. Within 2 months, I've had 2 incidents, one in which I was personally involved, and this one I'm just emotionally involved, where there's a gun being waved at a youth football game. In this case, in the previous
to a
case,
youth
I was at a
football
youth
game.
basketball game. Like, why? What
Why do you have
possesses someone to walk into the gym, for me when it was up in Boston, with a gun in their waistband? What possesses someone to walk onto a football field with a gun in your waistband?
Like, what did you think you were going to see? A bad call? You knew? So you were preparing for an argument? Because that's the kind of stuff.
Granted, it's Texas. It's Texas, which is very different than Massachusetts. The gun laws are a lot stricter in Massachusetts than they are in Texas. Massachusetts was my incident in the AAU basketball game. This gentleman, unfortunately, lost his life at a football game, but it was in Texas. And Texas is a lot more forgiving when it comes to where you can house your weapons. But that doesn't mean that they really think you're going to take out your gun because you didn't like the pass interference call. How do we bring this back? ETP, I'm throwing it to you, man. And not that you would have any actual rational, meaningful answers to that, because we are in the realm of irrational. But I think the only way we pull it back is that rational adults say, here's our approach. This is how we change this. Because if not, we're going to be putting our babies, generations to come, at even more risk, because the stakes get higher. If you talk about the Big Ten and the $1 billion contract, the stakes are getting higher. Now that they do NIL deals, and every superstar youth sports person, basketball, football, they're not chasing championships with their teammates. You got 10-year-olds chasing NIL deals now. So as the stakes get higher, the insanity tends to get higher too. So where do we go from here? Like, it's you don't think when you're going to a game, you're putting your kids at harm's way of dying. As a coach that volunteers, when I read about a 43-year-old man that's given his whole life to this DFW elite, I think DFW Dogs, whatever, Dallas-Fort Worth, give his entire life to this organization, to then literally give his life in front of the organization, makes me kind of nervous. Like, damn, I didn't know I didn't know the risk. I didn't know the risk. That was the risk that I was taking this morning. What do you say, ETP?
So you kind of quickly mentioned something that was interesting about proposing basically a federal crime, because there's all these drug laws against schools. There's school zones, right? So the idea that if you get caught or charged with trafficking or distribution within a certain distance of a school, then obviously the charges are enhanced. So I think from a legal perspective, that's something interesting to consider, that there's some greater consequences considering a youth sports gathering or any type of congregation of children or what have you to be a safer space from a legal perspective, so that's definitely interesting, right? And it's already enacted, but from a school perspective, but they left out these extracurricular activities where youth congregate and have activities. So that's one thing that I think is really interesting. The other part of it is, it really, like, ultimately it really does come down to the adults. And you mentioned the NIL. So now the stakes are much higher. There are opportunities, at the youth level. We've talked about it on the show before, where kids are selling their own merchandise at 9 years old, 10 years old at these tournaments. There's a lot of national coverage. You got overtime, which is, they just did another round of funding. I think they're valued at $500 million. They're not a professional sports league, but they're professionalizing amateurs. So the stakes are just continuing to get higher and higher. And the adults in the, on the field, on the court, in the room are not always of the mind, especially at the youth level, are not of the mind of development. Like the whole purpose of that, it's almost like we should shut off the scoreboards, if you're under 14 years old, because it really should be about development, right? Like the whole purpose.
They do that, I think, in Sweden. I think it's Sweden.
Of course, it's in Sweden. They don't have any wars.
They don't let you choose until you're 13. There is no score. There is no win. There is no loss. It's just go find what you love, and then you can pursue it. Sorry to interrupt, but you might have a point there. It's like
that's too soft.
I know though, man. Maybe we got to keep it soft so they can appreciate the value of the actual game. Go ahead.
And I think, and that's the hard part is the adults, like too soft, but the adults are supposed to be the ones that are, maintaining the guardrails and having some level of composure to keep things, from a developmental, competitive spirit, but very much developmental as well as productive, right? And so, I've coached youth sports. I've made kids run. I've been confronted by a parent for making a kid run because he wasn't sure that the reason that I made him run was valid. And this is in practice. Nothing's on the line.
Practice? I'm talking about practice.
We're talking about practice.
How did you make it run?
Practice.
Was it a lap? Was it 2 laps? Was it to the fence and back?
Hey, I feel like you got personal there. Don't be talking about my park, man. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna say no names, but in our park, a parent will confront you about having a kid run a lap. It's that big of a deal. But
let me ask you though, E. How can you make the penalty for murder more severe that would make someone deter?
Yeah, because he's going. What's the brother name? Yakub?
Yeah,
first degree murder.
I would say you could make.
But at least possession, right? Like
possession of a gun should be like life in prison if you have possession at a youth event.
Something so
outrageous that you would never want to do.
Just having even as a registered licensed gun carrier, even having it on the premises, because you can be a licensed gun carrier, but you can't walk into Soldiers Field or Pro Play, any of these stadiums. You can't go into Madison Square Garden with a gun. So to have a similar type of restriction at youth sporting events, even if you're a licensed gun carrier, you cannot bring a gun. If you're in Texas, if you're in California, if you're in Massachusetts, the laws aren't going to save us from this gun culture, but it's just weird that there's not even any real attempt to address it in situations like this.
Because in that moment, people have lost themselves, and they do it in other situations. That's what RICO charges are all about. Certain crimes against society. When they add RICO to it, you're in a whole different ballpark. To me, I think it needs to be similar when it comes to having violent acts and using a gun at a youth football game. And I know, and I appreciate the people who are participating, man. Please continue to like, comment, and share. We'll try to address any of the comments that we can. But I'm at the point now, bro. It's like I put my kids in sports because it was supposed to teach them some valuable lessons. Soft skill lessons about how to be a teammate, how to, fight through adversity. And I didn't put my kids in youth sports to potentially be gun victims. So we got to do something. We got to do something. And look, with the more money that goes into it, here's what I'll say, man, before we move on, because I think the people who are really going too far, like we said, are the adults. And then there are people inside the fabric of this thing called youth sports. And a lot of them fancy themselves as coaches. And my man, Kareem White, my dog since I was 13, 14 years old, love him to death. My guy came up with a term, and I said it before, and I'll say it on here. Really, they are coaches, fake-ass coaches. You're trying to make it all about you. Any coach that needs to go online and beat his chest about what my team's gonna do, you a coach. You a grown man living through kids. You write and check the kids got to cash. And oh, by the way, get a life. We shouldn't be online talking, popping trash to each other, talking about who want the smoke. Because then it leads to dumbass, excuse my French, but dumbass shit like some adult trying to run the score up on a team because, oh, they want to get back to social media and talk shit. That's a coach. You a fake ass coach. And you messing up the game. Just because you went, undefeated in your Madden season don't make you a coach. It ain't got nothing to do with you football. And what's pissing me off is it's getting more and it's getting worse. That's why you see 7-on-7, these kids tapping each other on the head. Because it's an adult, and I put it in air quotes, a coach that taught them that's the way to do it. Somebody who couldn't make their JV team around here, and you've trusted your kids with this man, a coach. Can't wait to get to Facebook and get in this room and tell everybody how we dog walk there. You messing up the game that I love, man. The game that saved a whole bunch of people, myself included, and gave me opportunities to get an education and gave me opportunities to see the world. You messing up the game, you coach. I feel like some people need to be banned from Madden because they taking Madden and thinking all of a sudden they can go be a youth football coach. It's getting ridiculous, man. You are a coach, a fake-ass coach. If you have to go and beat your chest online in social media spaces, Twitter fingers, and you ain't even talking trash about something that you can do. You don't go on the field. Some other kid does. Stop fancying yourself as a coach. You are a coach. That's what you need to put on the back of your jacket and on your shirt. Coach, whoever. You a fake ass
whistle
coach.
should only blow halfway. I agree, man. I think it's
Anyway,
terrible.
man, I get passionate about that, bro, because I'm seeing it all the time that's around me. And it's like, bro, that ain't what this is, man. In the grand scheme of things, if we're approaching sports the right way and what it means to our lives and our kids' lives, what your record is on some 10U team doesn't mean a damn thing. The Big Flow Show, you know it now. Your son's now a Division I football player. He is taking advantage of the opportunities that the game has put at his fingertips. Whatever his record was on his 10U year, he don't talk about that on the campus at Northwestern. Don't even remember. And these are the moments where people are going too far. For me, it's too far. We need to cleanse this game of the adults that are messing up for the kids. And if I see, like honestly, bro, I be wanting to backhand smack some of these dudes when I see them posting stuff on Facebook about some kids. Y'all weak, bro. Y'all whack, like straight up, man. And I don't like to throw around the experience that I have in this game. But it be in those moments, and I was like, bro, what do you? And them be the ones beating their chests. They want everybody to know that they know football. Because guess what? They don't know football. But in a room full of people that mildly know it, okay, well, they really look like they know. And shut your dumb ass up, you folks. Anyway, go ahead.
What I really worry about here, and again, my son's youth experience growing up, I thought, we live in an area that's not super diverse. We got a little bit of diversity.
It's white, talking about not super diverse. You old suburban ass. Talking about not super diverse.
Man. I gotta wake up.
Go ahead, my bad. I'm hating.
So I gotta wake up here. But one thing I liked about the youth sports experience is, raising my son in an area that doesn't have a lot of black folks and doesn't have a lot of this, but we have in the football leagues and basketball leagues that we got to play with, we got to go and play. Now, our teams always were very diverse itself because, by the nature of having a couple 100,000, you can find enough to make diversity on your team. But what I always thought was beautiful about our football league was that we went into a lot of different areas. We had some really rich areas that didn't have near minority on their team, and we had some teams that was, all minorities, either all Hispanic or all black, whatever. And we came together. Not to say we never had arguments, but we came together. The kids played home and away, different things. You got to go in the neighborhoods. And I thought it was absolutely imperative for these kids' development to be able to go into different areas that were not like they were, play against people who are not that didn't look like they came from, that didn't have the same type of background, and be able to go and have a civilized game and come out and do all right. I thought everyone benefited from that. They had a team called the Windy City Dolphins, and the guy who ran that program, there was a parent shot another parent at the game, right? This is like 2 or 3 years ago. A parent shot another parent at the game. And he was so mad because, obviously the shooting, but he's like, man, I don't want to stop going out to these places to go play, because now they had no more home games. I don't know if they even have them anymore, but there was obviously no more home games for them forever. Mm-hmm. But he's like, my kids don't ever have an opportunity to see how other people live and have an exposure to it, except for when we have these away games. And he's like, I don't want that to end because this dumbass family decided they want to do it, and then kept it moving there. So I think around the nation, there's a lot of that in these leagues where people get to go play different teams. We did it in high school, we did whatever, but the earlier you're exposed to that, and you can realize these people, they have 2 shoes on, pair of shoulder pads and a helmet, just like me. And no matter what their background, they can play the sports just like me. It gives them an opportunity to really just understand different people from different walks of life. And I feel like that's going to go away because people are going to be like, man, we're not going to play anybody like this anymore. They out here shooting, they doing different things. And it's going to become, the fear. And it's going to be hard to argue with them.
I see my man. What's up, Kareem White in the building, man, who coined that term, foaches. And today's episode, Too Far, man, it's time to rid the game of these foaches, man. Simple and plain, bro. Simple and plain. I see my man Patrick Thomas, thanks, coach, who also coached on our staff. He says a lot of these foaches, I'm reading from one of the comments from the live audience member, Coach Patrick Thomas, says a lot of these foaches are trying to live their football lives through youth sports because they probably was whacking their youth sports growing up. And that to me is the thing that's pissing me off the most. And we can move on from it, but that they're living through these kids. And the youth sports experience ain't supposed to be about that, man. It ain't supposed to be about that. I'm sorry. People walking around bragging about national rankings at the youth level. My man Nick Butler referred to it in the earlier comment. Who cares? He talked about the amount of money that's being gambled at these games. Get a life.
That should be a felony. That should be a racketeer.
Or it should either be, I can go either way with that. It should be either a felony or you learn how to get a bookmaker and do it the right way. What it shouldn't be is a gambling hall that leads to violence.
Take that back. There should be no gambling youth sports whatsoever.
Look, if you're going to do it anyway,
don't do it.
I'd rather be regulated.
Go to jail. No, stupid. Betting on
but the most important part, man, before we move on. Before we move on, let's just get this out there, man, because this is officially too far. A man lost his life at a youth football game. I don't know what's going to happen to Aqib Talib or his brother, because it seems like the brother instigated it. But the brother was notorious for crazy stuff while he played. And the brother was the one who went and snatched somebody's chain. He literally is Debo out there on the football field. And I think it leads to other problems. I think that's why, we're going to get to this story, the NFL wanted to go back and extend Deshaun Watson's penalty for games, because they're trying to undo really a long history of allowing this type of behavior to exist. Of course, what's the NFL brother is Aqib Talib, right?
Aqib Talib.
Aqib Talib. But he spent an entire NFL career thinking he was air quote above the law.
Yeah. So
when you reintegrate him into society and put him around youth football, be surprised if this type of stuff happens. To all the coaches out there, you've gone too far. You've messed up a game that a lot of people love and have put blood, sweat, and tears into. Enough is enough. Go do something else. Be the baddest man you could be on Madden. I hear coaches yelling out dumbass shit, man, and it's starting to piss me off. Here, for example, Foch, whoever you might be, and if I'm stepping on your toes, change your shoes, I guess. But I heard dumbass folks yelling at kids about, yo, I need you to run fast on every route. And at the core, that's, okay, you understand it, But anybody that has actually strapped up and been in some shoulder pads, that's actually strapped up and put on some cleats and balled out at a high level will understand. If I run full speed on one route and jog back to the line and there's no huddle, this shit ain't Madden, bro. I'm a human. But you only understand that if you've actually been in the trenches and done it. If you've only been in front of that video game, you think, oh man, the Powers are going to charge back up and they're going to be able to run full speed again. Because you used to playing Madden, you damn folks. Anyway, man, this whole week in youth sports has pissed me off, bro. And to see the worst of the worst happen in the same week just seems to be interesting timing. And maybe I'm just a little sensitive to it. But I just think it's time to rein this thing back in. And it starts with telling the air quote adults that are messing up the game that they're messing up the game and be gone. Mm-hmm. Be gone. Because someone can literally lose their life because of the environment that you are creating on social media, Twitter fingers. Anyway.
So listen, on a lighter note, speaking of fake ass coaches, did y'all see the stuff on the fake ass girlfriend?
I did not. You told me that you watched it. So
gotta lighten it up a little bit. I got to hey, watch it. If it's a 2-part series, you gotta watch it. It's interesting. I don't understand the motivation for Manti to really bring it back, but spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about the story, so go ahead and cut off if you don't want to hear it. But you know what? Even if I spoil it, you still want to see it. The thing that kills me about the story, so those that don't know, Manti Te'o, Notre Dame linebacker, Heisman finalist, won every award, probably the most decorated linebacker.
He got second in Heisman for running.
Second in Heisman, Buckus Award, every award you could possibly get. And top linebacker coming out of high school, met the hype, did everything he's supposed to do. But he didn't know how to pick a mate. So somebody picked him.
That's putting it lightly.
I'm trying to keep this right. So I can't remember the person's name, but it was turned out to be a dude from Hawaii, also like a quarterback from Hawaii that was, going through some transitional issues mentally, wanted to transition and wanted to feel like a woman. So made up a fake ID on social media, and Lene, I think was the person's name that he came up, or Lonnie or something, and befriended Manti. Dude, kind of smart. Befriended Manti Te'o's cousin for a little while. Started talking to Manti Te'o's cousin. Got all these different friends. Made some different fake accounts and met a bunch of different people, and then approached Manti. Manti did his little fact checking. A lot of people knew who this person was, and they started a relationship, I guess, right? Phone conversations, everything. My man could fake a female's voice like perfect. Like you could tell it sounded like a woman.
Do you get to hear the sound of his...
Oh, they play the voicemails, and you never in 1 second do you question whether or not this is a man or woman. It sounds like a pretty girl's voice. I mean, like it sounds like it matches the pictures that he had.
So if you Google pretty girl's voice, that's the sound that would normally play.
That's what would come to your mind. Yeah, that's like like he sounded like a girl. And then the picture, the pictures that he stole, which I think is the spookiest part, that he uses the same girl's picture that she never knew she was a part of the story, and she was a real pretty girl. Manti,
they found the girl, the picture of the act. They found the actor.
Yeah, they found her. She was like, I had no idea.
I like that now.
Yeah, they went and found her. Netflix don't mess around. I got a big budgets over there, but they found her. They did whatever. So the way that this show breaks down. So anyway, Manti has this long-term relationship with this person, but somehow she always avoids FaceTime. They never can get together, and this goes a span of at least a year or so where he's going through this. And they started up being friends. And then they, just kind of, I mean, I guess it never really moves past friendship. I don't know how you define moving past friendship, but it definitely seemed like they were there for each other.
Did they have a conversation? Because I'm probably not going, I'm one of the few people in the world, I just don't do the document. I'm not going to watch it. So I don't call it spoiler alert. But did they ever mention how they got from that to calling themselves boyfriend, girlfriend? Because I was old school. You see, you wear my chain or you put on my Letterman jacket, we're dating.
At least you
this
got to hold hands
generation.
or something if you want to be old fashioned.
Yeah, what do you do?
I
You
don't
just
know. I
change your
think you know,
status on
Manti is
Facebook?
really deep into his heritage and his faith. She had both of those, so she checked all the boxes for something he wanted to move forward
He's
with.
Mormon, right? So
He's Mormon, yeah, he's
that is
Mormon,
unique
and
faith.
she was, and Polynesian, she was. His dad didn't take no mess. He thought his dad would approve. She was in California, he's in Hawaii. So when he had free time, he was going to Hawaii. He couldn't stop in California. She always faked about why they couldn't see each other or FaceTime. She would FaceTime and be like, I can see you, you can't see me. Like she was, I keep saying she, but it was a dude, right? And so dude was like, dude was just he kept faking it off, and somehow it was working. Sometimes Manti would get upset and did whatever. So the way that this documentary goes now is like the interview Manti and the interview. So the guy has transitioned now into a woman. So he is now a woman. I'm sorry, I can't
Oh, so
remember.
you can say she then.
Nah, because we're talking past tense. At the time, this is full dude, right? It wasn't she yet, right? It was full dude at the time, right? Faking it. And so they go back and forth, and there was, Manti had some problems. His grandmother died, so the girlfriend, fake girlfriend, faux friend. Should we call it faux friend?
Faux friend.
Poaches.
She's a faux. She's a faux friend.
The fake girlfriend like faked her death, but she had like people involved. She had children involved. She had she would switch her voice up and be cousins. So this was like a professional.
She had personalities. Okay.
She had a little sister. So after she died, her sister and her, the real person, as a dude who claims to be the cousin, brought the little sister to a football game in Notre Dame, brought Manti like a little teddy bear, and was like, yeah, we met. The little girl was like, yeah, I miss my aunt that died so much. Like they really conned this dude, man, and gave him a tag.
Okay. I'm starting to feel a little more sorry for him because I got to be honest.
They put a lot of work in. There's like they show a video of dude. So the dude who's not a woman hugging Manti, saying, "I'm the cousin. You meant so much to her." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "Okay, I finally meet some people." You know what I mean? The little kid is in on it, doing whatever.
There's no way he's thinking that's the person I'm communicating.
No way. Yeah, no way. And this dude is thinking.
I feel bad for him now. I feel bad for him. I didn't during the time. I feel bad.
Yeah,
for him.
it was the thing. But the thing that's so crazy about this catfish thing and the mental thing that I need to talk to somebody about is like when you see Manti talking about the person, you want to slap him and be like, that was fake, right? Because he misses that girl.
You kind of sounded like you didn't know it was fake there for a minute. I was listening to your story.
I'm trying to tell the story without, I don't know how to do it, but I don't believe it. But at the end of the day, like Manti almost cried when he starts talking about the death of this fake girlfriend. He's like he has to take a second.
On the Netflix show, like he's talking about the death of the fake death, and he almost comes to tears.
He said, "Man, this is bringing me back to an emotional place." Man, cut that. Do you know what you're doing right now, Manti? Talking about a fake person.
All right, so we could all agree that the catfisher went too far.
Absolutely.
Is it going too far to share the story? Because I feel like Manti, you
just got some sympathy because he did go through some effort to fake it. So you can see how he got duped in some ways, but then at the end of the day, college athletes, everybody's got their own beliefs, but like you couldn't claim somebody as your woman if y'all, you know what I'm saying? We'll just leave it at that. It's only certain things before you claim that somebody's your woman, man.
Yo, that was the best nonsense I ever heard.
I was like, I guess that's true.
It's like that thing. You all had that friend who says that they had a girlfriend they lost her virginity to at camp in the summer, and they ain't seen no parts. Yeah. That's the Manti story. So like, you start to be like, come on, man, you too old to be claiming somebody as your woman that you've never met. So he lied to his family and said he met her because he was embarrassed he had never met her.
There were allegations at the time that maybe he was struggling with because the catfisher seems to have been in transition and identity change, sexual identity change. Hopefully that's the way you phrase that. But there were allegations, or at least rumors, that maybe Manti Te'o's sexuality was really the thing at the core of this issue. I don't know if the documentary deals with that at all.
They asked him, they show where someone asked him a question about it, and he's like, "No, I'm far from gay. I'm not gay. Do whatever." And then they showed his woman came out. She's decent too. His woman came out and was like,
the current wife.
Yeah, he's married. Manti married right now.
Manti married, but that there's a lot of people who've been married.
Yeah, I know. But I feel like at this point,
so now y'all
I feel
cast
like he
it
had plenty
down.
of time to come
Come
out.
on, hasn't he been through enough?
I feel like he's had plenty of time. It's been 2 years.
You're right. I
If that
take
was,
that back. That was
if
wrong.
that was something else, he
I
would've
know
went
when
the
I'm
wrong
wrong.
way.
Now, I just went too far.
Yeah, he went too far. Hey, why not? Everyone else is going too far. So at the end of the day, it's a good documentary. It's interesting. I'd love for you guys to watch it. Homework assignment, watch it. When I'm back on the show in a couple weeks, I'd like to find out what y'all think.
Yeah, man. Say goodbye to the people, man. He's going to the international. For those who are still in the audience, stay tuned. We're going to transition here without the Big Flow Show as he moves on to international waters, man. Anything you want to say to the people?
Go Cats, man. Go Cats. That's what I'm talking about. We're about to go down. We're going to, I hope don't play this in the locker room. We're going to go take Nebraska down. We're going to run it up. Last year was something different. Brand new year. These are new Cats. 2022 Cats. Let's go.
Hey, when you get there, man, make sure you get an autograph.
I don't like today, dude. I'm trying to get used to it. I look tough to me.
I know you cheering for Northwestern. You'll be watching your son pull up for Northwestern, but could you get, for the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, could you get us an autograph from DeColdest? If you get us an autograph from DeColdest,
I gotta meet DeColdest.
You gotta meet DeColdest.
Ever do it?
You gotta meet DeColdest.
But my son
Big Flo,
was one colder than DeColdest. I'm gonna leave y'all with that, and I'm out.
Yeah, and that's who gonna ball out. They let him play. He gonna ball out this week.
Let him in there. All right, y'all. We catch up.
All right, bro. Peace. Yeah, be well.
So should we take a commercial break since we we are talking about DeColdest?
DeColdest, yeah. Let's go hop right into DeColdest, man. And without any further ado, the commercial that we've all been waiting for. DeColdest, whoever did it, Crawford, and his NIL deal, when he inked it, I don't think they could have imagined or envisioned it going any better than this. With no further ado, DeColdest.
I'm so glad we called SOS. RAC is the coldest.
I'm always the coldest.
SOS to the rescue.
Hey, this is DeColdest Crawford, wide receiver from Louisiana, now playing in Lincoln. When your AC isn't the coldest, you call SOS Heating and Cooling. Their techs don't make commissions, so they give you an honest opinion, fair pricing, and longer warranties than the competition guaranteed. Take it from DeColdest. We will keep you cool this summer.
Man, brilliant. I don't know if there are award shows for commercials. You got the Emmys and the Oscars, but if there was an award show for commercials, DeColdest would be up for it. That looked painful. It looked like it took him the coldest number of takes. Like the brother was like, "Hey, yo, man, DeColdest, I wish you the best on the field, man." But shout out to you with your NIL deal, brother. You did something I never did. I never got a commercial in NIL. So, what did you think about the commercial, man? Would you buy heating and cooling from that company because of DeColdest? Was it effective?
It was absolutely effective. We just played it for an international audience. So I'm like, I need to call SOS Heating and Cooling. I wonder if they come out to New Jersey.
Straight up, SOS about to franchise this thing, baby.
I don't want to give a rating on the acting abilities, but the promotional value is very high. But yeah, we got to get DeColdest some of the acting lessons.
Man, I hope my man Big Flo Show gets us an autograph. He got to bring an autograph from DeColdest back to the Ball Hog Sports.
I need him to autograph my AC.
Straight up, you know what I mean? It's gonna come to a point
or something,
right? You know how they used to have clap on, clap off, the clapper. It's gonna be something where your temperatures change when you just say DeColdest. Give me DeColdest, and the temperature gonna change.
Right, Siri, like DeColdest commercial.
Shout out to him though, man. DeColdest got him the coldest commercial out there right now. Let's hop into in this episode of Too Far. Let's hop into some other stuff, man, because we talked about the element of growth as it pertains to youth sports, as it pertains to sports in general, and how people, I think, that is what is messing up the vibe, the environment of youth sports. So let's hop into that growth of sports. The elephant in the room, if you will, is the money that goes into it. In this episode of Too Far, we gotta talk about college football. because college football is such an elephant in the room that it has been mentioned that the NCAA is considering extracting college football from its offerings in terms of sports and it being its own thing. College football, if you look at the media rights, college football, if you look at sort of the viewership ratings, college football, if you look at the growing number when it comes to dollars, revenue for bowl games, college football, you look at the growing number in terms of number of actual bowl games. There's a time during that Christmas break that you can every morning wake up, turn the TV on, and see a bowl game for about 2 straight weeks. College football has been this elephant in the room for a while, and it seems as though because of the dollars that are being thrown at it, that it potentially could be its own beast. What do you think about it, man? Before we move on, is that too far? And this episode of Too Far is taking college football, the money maker that it is, the one that pays for all of the scholarships, as I used to like to tell my wife, you should thank me, I paid for that scholarship. Is it too far to take it out of the NCAA and let it be its own thing? And by doing so, continuing this professionalization of young student athletes. What do you think?
So this is a tough one. It has so many potential ramifications, right? So like you said, if you take football, which is a big revenue generator from a college sports perspective, and remove it from the NCAA, what does that do for the lesser funded sports? And how does the money get distributed? I mean, you're basically creating a professional organization in what is historically known to be an amateur landscape, right? So that creates a whole cast of issues. So it's just crazy. And I would be the last person to say, try. And then also, like, what's the NCAA? Is the NCAA, do they have like a 5-year like dissolution plan? Like, are they trying to just become obsolete as fast as possible, where they're taking out the biggest, element of their existence? The only other thing left really is basketball. I mean, obviously you have baseball, you have, there's other sports, gymnastics, other sports in the NCAA, but football and basketball are basically the biggest revenue generators, and you're removing football, which is by far, I would imagine, bigger than anything else. So what's the purpose of the NCAA? And then the other thing is, and I don't know, you'd probably know this better than me, but what does this do to Title IX? Like, how does that affect Title IX? And then beyond that, what does it do with, so the other thing that the NCAA, at least, when we were coming up, the clearinghouse was beneficial to at least try to hold some academic standard to anybody that wanted to play college sports. So if you break the football element out of the NCAA, now do they set some new or arbitrary or non-existent academic standards in order to play college football? And then does that even further reduce the value of the education? And so it becomes this sweater thread. But Title IX is definitely a question that I don't know enough about. I'd be interested if you truly understand what the ramifications of that could be.
I mean, I think it could help, honestly, when it comes to the balance, because you're taking 85 scholarships. The Title IX is about like balance, having the same opportunities across genders on each college campus. But I will say this in terms of NCAA, because it's National College Athletic Association, they have been in this murky gray area for a while because they've been sort of a regulating body without much to regulate. And football has been powerful enough to have relationships from a media rights standpoint with bowl games and title sponsors that has superseded the overall influence and reach of the NCAA. And then you add to that NIL, and let's be honest, this body that was initially constructed, right, to regulate amateur sports is becoming more and more obsolete for that particular sport because that particular sport is becoming more and more of a professional sport, at least in college basketball. although not the best players are looking at it as one and done. I'll be there for a few months and I'll be gone. But while they are there, college basketball in its purest form is still an amateur sport. Its biggest moneymaker, March Madness, is still a very amateur-oriented sport. College football is quickly becoming the NFL. The NFL minor leagues. It's quickly becoming its own professional entity. And so I'm not surprised by this, but I think it officially is too far. It's going to lead to more problems. If you look at the chicken and the egg, if you look at the gasoline that you would throw on the fire, that leads to events like we just saw the tragic event in Dallas, where, you know, people just took it too far. And a man, Michael Hickman, a coach, a dad, a son, a husband, lost his life. I think you exacerbate the problem by making people really look at this golden nugget, this lottery ticket, as though it's their only way out. And the unintended consequences, I think, when the NCAA ultimately does it, because I thought it would have happened already, but maybe we're 5 years away from it, right? But the unintended consequence is more exploitation of young people at a younger age, because everyone's looking at little Johnny, this 9-year-old running back who is ranked on the best 9-year-old running back in the country. Like, there are some idiots that walking around bragging about the kid that I got the best 9-year-old running back in the country. Grown up. These type of shifts in college football, or shifts in sports in general, I think lead to more problems when it comes to people seeing that kid, Lil Johnny, who the best 9U running back in the country, as a meal ticket, instead of a 9-year-old that needs to develop, learn the game, learn the soft skills of the game, learn how to be a better citizen, learn about hard work, learn about effort, learn about selflessness, right? All the soft lessons that used to be embedded in youth sports, they're being exhausted from the sport because everyone sees these kids as their ticket to the ultimate payday. And the NCAA taking football out and basically creating a professional league, if you will, is only going to lead to more problems.
Yeah, I mean, the flip side of it, though, to be potentially optimistic about it, is it opens up the opportunity to actually empower and compensate these athletes in a more fair way, right? Like, if it does become a professional entity in a greater capacity than that, because the NCAA was always, it's about the amateurism, it's about preserving the integrity of student first, athlete second.
Right.
All of this arguably fallacious, fake, marketing jargon that this new entity cannot deny that this is a commercial enterprise to the fullest extent. And as a result, if you have the right people in the room structuring the program, then maybe there is a level of more fair compensation for the talent and the individuals that are playing the sport. So there's at least an opportunity to wipe the slate clean and start to consider, how do we make it more equitable?
Fair. That's a big if.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very optimistic perspective, but at least it's the opportunity presents itself. When you have to start over, it presents itself.
I think that the perspective is indeed optimistic, but obtainable. When I said that's maybe extreme and a bit naive in terms of the big if, I think the big if that I'm referring to is having the right people in the room.
Well, right.
That's my challenge with where this goes, because then who's in, you would imagine, right? Like these tournaments, there are people throwing these tournaments, these football tournaments, that they are laying the groundwork for these contentious moments. They're a part of the build-up. They're a part of the going live. They're a part of the, commentary that leads to destruction when it comes to youth sports. And I don't think it's far-fetched that can easily be the same environment in college sports if indeed there's not a regulating body like the NCAA. That's the only thing that scares me. So the big if is, are the right people going to be in the room in order to make this, if it is a commercial entity, if it is a league of its own, that don't just purely look at it as exploitation, because whether, and I know it's kind of cliche, but whether people want to accept it or not, the scholarship that I got to go play football, Division I football, to me, while it was indeed a scholarship to go play football, that was my ticket to change my life, to get a good education, to meet people from around the world, to understand how to navigate different circles. It was so much more than football. We're going in a direction that it becomes purely football. And when I look at situations like Dallas, and I look at purely football environments, we got a bunch of fools running things. And that's what scares me about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's totally valid, right? There's a history of poor management and poor leadership and, misdirected motives. I think for me, the level of optimism is at least, coming through the cracks, because Ed O'Bannon fought for a name, image, and likeness for, I think, 15, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why now college athletes can get marketing deals and have control of their name, image, and likeness is because he engaged in this fight legally and fought for many years to get it done. So that gives me some level of hope. It's on the heels of, now we've already kind of gone into this gray area of professionalization where there's monetizing of the amateurism is now a hybrid approach for these athletes. Then you also have a situation where a lot of these athletes, because of all the money that is in the sports, so you have the professional athletes that are now business entities. They're not just retired athletes that are trying to become a sports caster or real estate tycoon. Like, they're moving the industry of the sports and entertainment world forward. Like, LeBron is going to own an NBA team soon. Like, these are, LeBron already owns multiple teams. Dwayne Wade, like, there's
Sports
people that
teams,
are
yeah.
coming.
But you're saying
Sports
he's going to have
teams.
one in the NBA, right?
Yeah, so the level of influence and control, where it's like the talent is also becoming the management, and it's happening very quickly because of all the money that in the revenues that's being generated from a salary standpoint of these professional sports. So hopefully there's people of influence and power that will also have the perspective of the athlete and have those conversations. And we also have seen generations of cautionary tales that hopefully that pushes it. So all of these things happening at the same time gives me some level, but look, capitalism is messy. It could always go by the wayside, but there's much more of an opportunity here than there's ever been for this to be a potentially equitable, kind of protective level of structure.
Fair. I used to look at college football as the model example of balance. And what do I mean by that? Balance. I had a real tough conversation with my son today, man. He's doing summer academic work, and I got to check it, and his effort was piss poor. And I handled it the way I handle it, and I won't say that, I ain't disclosing that here because some of y'all gonna think I went too far, but I handled it like I handled it, a dad with his son, and we had a real tough conversation. I said, man, the school that you're at, as Big Flo likes to put it, doesn't have a ton of diversity. You're one of these private schools, man, with all white folk that's looking at you as this big, strong, amazing athlete, and they feel as though that's the only thing that you can do. How dare you give them the license to be right? When you go in that classroom, you got to compete. College football used to be, to me, the model example of balance. Because while you think that I got here only because I can catch a ball and run a touchdown, I'm going to go in this classroom and bust your ass. It was balance. It gave me the opportunity and the encouragement to go get my degree. And what's challenging to me is that balance seems to be slipping away fast, and taking the football out of the NCAA to me is only going to speed that up. And I humbly think that that's too far. But
Yeah, and basketball will be right behind them. Men's basketball will be right behind them in 2 years.
Right,
Done.
Right.
And then at that point, what is the NCAA from a corporate standpoint?
I think, like you said, I think they already have. They know that their tombstone already has the writing on it, right? They know that they're just about dead. Let's hop into some more stories quickly before we get out of here, man, because this week Deshaun Watson is that's my quarterback. It's my quarterback. Anybody that watches knows I'm a Browns fan. Dog pound. Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension got increased to 11 games. And they have also decided, as a part of his consequence or penalty, he has to pay $5 million to a charity. They had a brother who I spoke about on here, Peter Harvey, former AG in New Jersey, my fraternity brother, New Jersey guy, good brother, that was hearing the appeal. And I think from an optics standpoint, it made sense. They had to make sure that there was some diversity in the appeal process. And so they had this black, very accomplished former AG, good brother, Peter Harvey, hear the appeal. Now, I'm biased. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. So I start with that disclaimer and that caveat before I say this. I think it's too far. You created this process, and yes, it does have an appeal component to the process, that a judge is sitting. Well, I think she's I think she's still a sitting judge. I don't remember where she's at in terms of her career, but a judge, an accomplished person that you have assigned to hear this case, makes a decision, and then the NFL decides to increase it to 11 games. In my opinion, it's too far, because I think that whether it be in the real court system, our judicial body here in our country, or in this case, the court of public opinion, the color of your skin and your demographic and your background plays a role in sentencing. Because the same league that allows a Robert Kraft to sit at the helm of a very valuable franchise, I know that's your team, but I'm gonna talk about a Jerry Jones or Irsay down in was with the Colts. I don't know if he's still there, or even freaking my former coach Urban Meyer. It is like people, the decision-making people in the NFL, whether it be the front office, whether it be the coaches, whether it be the people that are from a different demographic, the people that are from backgrounds that allow them to be invited to those country clubs, they aren't having the same reaction. The NFL isn't reacting to their indiscretions the same way that they are to the players. And if it's going to be one big family, you're going to represent the shield, then everyone should face the same consequences under similar circumstances. Do I think that Deshaun Watson did anything illegal? What I think doesn't matter. 2 different counties decided, 2 different grand juries decided not to indict this man. Do I think that he needs to air quote pay more? I don't know. He settled 23 of the 24 lawsuits. So if it's settled with the accusers, and from a civil suit standpoint, what do we continue to pay? Undisclosed amounts. I'm assuming that 23 to 24, the one young lady who's holding out is going to get paid. But at what point do we stop? When is our debt paid to society, if you will? In this case, society being the NFL. At what point? We can't keep relitigating it. And I think because of the optics and the NFL trying to get some of its credibility back from decades and decades of being too light in certain instances, what comes to mind immediately is domestic violence, or even drunk driving. Drunk driving, you're putting people's lives at risk. While I think that Deshaun Watson has a fetish that I don't understand and I don't subscribe to, He ain't put nobody's life at risk. And according to 2 grand juries, he didn't do anything criminal.
But I guess the question is like, I mean, at this point, are people still going to be like it's always the hard thing whenever there's a conviction of any kind, right? A sentencing of any kind, it's always a question of like, should that person have gotten 7 years in jail or should they got 8? Like, I guess this 11 games and $5 million fine, like are the protesters and the people that were calling for his punishment, are they now going to be satisfied or are they still unsatisfied? And then it's also weird to me, like 11 games, you might as well just shut them down for the season, right? Like that, like 11 games is such a weird number because he's going to come back in week 12 and finish the last 4 games. And
oh, by the way, they play away at the Texans that week. Even the NFL just can't get out of his own way. Like the optics of that, like, oh, okay, he conveniently gets to come back to play his old team in an away game that most times most people would never watch. The entire NFL community will watch because this is his first game back playing against his old team that was also sued by most of the same accusers in civil court. Oh, that happens to be the game you're gonna let him come back. Like anyway, man. NFL, y'all need to call some smart brothers like myself, man. And let me get in there and help y'all with some of this decision making, bro. Like, I don't know where the 11 games comes from. I'm assuming that they have some rationale behind it. I do think that the person who heard the appeal, Peter Harvey, is a very, very, very fair man. And I would like my future in his hands in most situations, but the NFL being tied and associated with this means that this was almost written. Everyone knew that the suspension would be extended. And why is that? Because everyone knew that the NFL had to appease the court of public opinion, and the optics had to be such that they tried to maintain at least a percentage. Like you said, the protesters, are they going to be satisfied? No. But I bet there's a chunk of them that are at least somewhat satisfied. They're going to be a little more reserved in their protests because, hey, at least the NFL extended the suspension. Yeah. As a Browns fan, no, I don't like it. But just as a black man, that's where I think this falls in line with today's topic. Right. You're just going too far. At some point, man, you know, the man lost the whole year of football, right? They didn't play last year. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, he got paid. That's what market value demanded. But he lost a whole bunch of endorsements. He's probably lost some respect, not just from the fan. Who cares about the fans? But women in his family are looking at him differently now. At some point, let it be done and move on. And I think when the accused, in this case, I'll call it, looks like me and is considered just a football player, it's easy to keep relitigating it. And for the rest of his career, this is going to be hanging over his head. I wouldn't have got the same number of massages. I wouldn't proposition someone to give me the happy ending, right? But I don't think that means a man loses his livelihood and he keeps having to answer the same question, because at the end of the day, if the process resulted in 6 games, the process results in 6 games. Be mad at the process. Now, the appeal portion of it is a part of the process. I just think that the appeal portion of it is heavily influenced. Now, Roger Goodell was smart enough not to be the one hearing the appeal in this case, although he has the right to. But at some point, move on.
Right. I think that's the thing. And I think that's it. Now, hopefully, now it's done, right? Like there's no additional discourse, litigation, rehashing of it. He's given up like $700,000 worth of his $230 million because they signed a deal where this year he makes only $1 million conveniently. But you know, if he locks back in, if he only works with the training staff but he also has to do evaluations, and so you know he's committed to rehabilitation of some capacity. So the expectation is now he can get back to his profession. And he can stay focused. And if he doesn't run into any other challenges moving forward, then it can, 2-3 seasons from now, he takes the Browns to the Super Bowl everybody's going to have amnesia about this. So ultimately,
You said
give 'em
when?
some
I was
time.
thinking this season. You said when, I don't know what you talking about. 2-3
Yeah,
seasons.
all right.
Hey, baby, week
Hey,
12. Here we
listen,
go.
You can have
But
as many pipe dreams as you want.
someone does say that they went too far. I think the NFL is still doing with PR hits. Appreciate you, Jay Crit. Always love you coming into the building, the Ball Hawk Sports Talk building. I appreciate your contributions. I'll say this, man, because I got a chance at an AAU basketball tournament. We were down at Ball on the Beach in South Florida, and I saw Ray Rice walk by. And because we're a Jersey team, I'm telling the kids, yo, that's Ray Rice, Rutgers guy, New Jersey guy. And they all, said what's up to him. But in that moment, it was sort of in the back of my mind how the NFL messed that up and knew what had transpired, had seen the videos, and ruled after the evidence and the videos were within their possession. And it wasn't until it got to the public consumption and everyone was able to see the videos themselves that the NFL decided to, again, relitigate it and win when it comes to the court of public opinion, the optics game. And I just again, that's another player. And then in that case, it happens to be a black man. I just want to see the same stringent, expectation, the standard. I want the stringent expectation and standard to be applied equally, no matter what your role is in the NFL, no matter what color you are, no matter how much money you make or where you are in the decision-making tree. The standard should be applied equally. Because if not, it's just another form of what we've already seen in our justice system. And if you look at even in criminal court, the sentencing a lot of times is more lenient when what? The victim on the other end of violent behavior is black. Same exact situation, same exact victim in terms of what happened to the victim. But the demographics of the victim, it ain't me talking, it's just scientifically proven, tend to impact sentencing and how aggressive the court tries to address the wrong. And it seems to be the same thing here in the NFL. And I think it's too far. I think it's too far. Let's move on though, man, because we got some NBA news. LeBron got his extension. When I say extension, I'm not talking about his hairline in this particular extension. I'm talking about this extension. He got his bread. He got his money up. I think it was 2 years, $97 million or something like that.
97.1 million.
97
Chance to make 111. And a third-year player option.
And so he'll be 40 by the time this is done, right? He's 38 now. Started at 19, played 19 years. My back of the envelope math says he's very close to 40. So if he's not 40 by the time this ends, he'll be, a stone's throw away from it, if not 40 at the time. 39, 40 by the time this contract is done. What does this mean for the Lakers?
I mean, it means that Bronny James is going to play in a Lakers uniform.
You think so? That they've secured him for those 2 years. This means that and I think Bronny James has done a great job in terms of improving his game, but is Bronny James a one and done? I think that pipe dream is kind of sailed. I don't think he's one and done.
I mean, LeBron is the greatest businessman to ever put on a professional basketball uniform.
Jay Craig gets the comment of the day. His edges will be 40. He'll be 39, but his lineup gonna be 48.
Yeah. His lineup maybe 23 by then.
Yeah. Reverse age.
Oh man, he gonna have a Jalen Rose lineup by then.
Yeah, he gonna have it all hooked up by then. I just think that this contract is also too far. At some point, I think the Lakers have to come to terms with the fact that their experience is their experience with this whole LeBron experiment says that you just can't you can't just buy the pieces, put them together, and hope it works, right? That's just not what this is. You got to assemble a team the right way and make sure that the pieces work together. But having said that, and having seen that over the last 2 years, their championship, they call it the bubble championship, it baffles me that they would then double down and invest more into this concept that is at least 2 years beyond its prime.
I don't know if they're investing more in the concept. They're investing in LeBron James. And LeBron James should be the highest paid player in the NBA. Like, that's even at this point. He played MVP level basketball. He's the biggest draw. He's the biggest draw in the entire league. He has been that for the past 20 years. Like,
is he the best player in the entire league?
I'd say until he retired, until he declines, he played MVP caliber basketball. Did he have the best season last year? He's the best player in the NBA.
On a terrible team. We've never rewarded that. We say good basketball on a terrible team is just that. It's terrible team. So I don't care statistically what it looks like. Now, you're right. He shot the ball well. He rebounded. He did his part on a terrible team. We've never rewarded that in team sports. LeBron's sort of getting an exemption there. That team was horrible. A team constructed with really 4 Hall of Famers. 5 if you put Dwight Howard in there. At the end of his career, fair. Carmelo at the end of his career, fair. But the team was terrible. And we've never rewarded that in team sports. But LeBron is getting an exception.
Getting an exception, there's people that have won. I mean, when Russell Westbrook won the MVP, I think they were the 8th seed in the playoffs. Like, there's plenty of people that have been MVPs.
They were 8th seed in what?
In the playoffs. They made the playoffs.
The Lakers didn't even make a playoff.
They didn't make the playoffs. But he wasn't. I'm just saying he was playing at an elite level. He has not fallen off. His statistical figures are in line with what he's done for his career, and he has not declined. I think the fact that he plays from the perspective of he's not an individual. He could be the scoring champion every season. He could be the scoring champion this coming season if he wanted to. He doesn't play that way. That's not the way he plays the game. So he's still the greatest player that's currently playing in the league.
That's a different statement than he's the best player because he's the highest paid. So you would think the best player in the league is the highest paid. But it's not just. Is he the best player in the league right now?
He is the biggest draw. He's box office. He has the highest. He's going to deliver.
But that's what Nike's paying him for. I'm saying
fine, but the quality of play. Like we can split hairs. We can say Jokic or Giannis or Embiid or KD or anybody. It's arguable. It's all arguable. But the fact of the matter is, LeBron James comes into your town. The ticket prices are the highest they've ever been for that season, and that's it. He should be the highest paid player in the league. He is the draw. He's the draw.
I'll give you that because you put a financial rationale behind it that makes sense, and there's a relationship there. I just don't know if you make him the highest paid player because of that. And look, it has been debated ad nauseum over and over again in barbershops across America. Do you give someone their big payday for what they've already done, or is the payday the expectations of what they will do? And if you're in the latter half of that and you think people get paid for what they will do and the championships they will bring to the city and to the franchise, and if that's the case, then it's hard to argue that LeBron should get paid at 37.
But what is he isn't showing that there's nothing that he's shown from up until last season that he's a declining asset, that he's an amortizing asset. He is still at value. Like, you're talking about the success of the team. You're talking about a team that dealt with a bunch of injuries, that is riding on Anthony Davis, who's not necessarily the most reliable. Like, all of these things that are outside of LeBron James.
How's that different in Cleveland? And in Cleveland, he had a worse cast that he took to the championship and eventually won a title. Now, that cast was terrible.
The league has evolved. Like, look at the amount of talent and the dynamics of the league at this day. Like,
I'll give you that.
the amount of parity, the talent parity today versus what he was doing 15 years ago in Cleveland, it doesn't, like, you could have 4 all-star teams right now and it would be box office high level basketball. Like, the level of talent in the league today, and the way that there's movement with free agency and putting teams together and all of that, like, it just isn't working for LA. They made a big bet with Anthony Davis. He can't stay healthy, and I don't know that he's the right piece. They got Russell Westbrook, but they made a bet with LeBron. They ride with LeBron. If you're gonna bet a franchise, if you're gonna bet on a player as a franchise, there's no real better bet from a financial and from a basketball perspective. Like, proven champion, knows how to get his teammates involved. Like, he plays elite baskall.
You're about to awaken my inner LeBron hater, boy, because you jabbing at me today. He was all of those things when he was in Miami. Other than that, I don't care. But that's just me hating. Let's move on to two more topics, man, before we get out of here today. Just mentions Ben Simmons got his settlement from the 76ers and got I think $25 million. He got $20 million from the Sixers. So hopefully, just like we talked about this whole Deshaun Watson thing, I hope that can just be done. It's a dark chapter in the NBA career of Ben Simmons. It's a dark chapter in the franchise history for the 76ers. Hopefully both can move on and be happier for it. Serena loses in the first round and really got her butt kicked to the previous U.S. Open winner. And man, it's we thought we were going to be able to really see her ride off into the sunset, potentially pull magic out of the hat and do something special in the U.S. Open. Doesn't look that way, man. You talk about, too far. Has Serena just gone too far and the wheels have come off? And just give me a quick answer what you think, man, because the U.S. Open is going to tell us more. But this warm-up showed me that Serena's got some weaknesses now in her game. Yeah,
I mean, she outside of the physical, she just mentally looks like she's already retired. Like, she just wasn't in the zone. And I mean, she lost in straight sets to Raducanu. She didn't even win a game in the second set. So I was excited. I'm planning to go to the U.S. Open. I was excited to see her. I'm hoping that she can get, U.S. Open is her. That's her, that's her stomping ground. That's where she's had a lot of success. I hope she gives it one last go. But after watching that match, it was kind of sad. I don't know if you're gonna try to see her play her last tournament. Definitely try to get to the first round, because I don't know that she'll make it much further than that. And not to take away from the fact that she's greatest of all time, but she's ready to walk away. Like, and I think she could play if she wanted it, but even watching her play, I don't know that mentally. I think mentally she's already past the game.
Yeah. So you talk about too far, and good old Father Time, undefeated. But hang in there, Serena. We'll see what she does. And last topic, man, I just want to at least mention it. I'm a big enthusiast of the WNBA, so much so that I didn't know what the playoff schedule was. But I am a fan, but I just haven't. It's been busy. Transition from basketball to football got me strung out, man. I'm busy, but I did want to at least mention that the first round of the WNBA playoffs is here. It is an expanded field of playoff teams. Connecticut leads its series over Dallas 1-0, and then you got Seattle, who beat the Washington Mystics. So Seattle's up 1-0. This is the best of three. The Liberty beat the Sky in game 1, so they're up.
Yeah, that's the most impressive. The Liberty, really young team. Sky, defending champions. So a bit of a shock.
Yeah. Candace Parker's Chicago Sky is down in that series, best of 3, and then the Aces are up on their series over the Mercury. They won 79-63, so they're up 1-0 in that best of 3. I'm going to try to tune in, man, and watch some of this WNBA. Some good stuff, expanded playoff field. we hope that it leads to expanded opportunities for the WNBA. We've talked about it here on the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment. We talked about the evolution and the growth of WNBA basketball. The expansion of the playoff teams hopefully could be more revenue for that sport and more eyeballs and attention on what we think, at least when I say we, me, is a good product.
And they for the first time are now all playoff teams are getting chartered flights to and from games.
I saw some on social media that saw them in the airport, and I think the WNBA players need to just focus on putting a good product out there and going directly to the WNBA itself and working with them to figure out how to expand their business, because they do have a great group of women with great minds and great business sense. I think that the WNBA as a business would be smart to listen to its players. But I think trying to do it in social media circles and put the teams on blast is just not the way that would encourage growth in the long term. So we'll leave it there. This has been a great show, man. The show is too far. We talked about different examples of people going too far in sports. The biggest example was the youth football tragedy this week. We started with a moment of silence. We'll end also just making sure that we say this aloud. We want to keep Michael Hickman at the core of that story, and we want to keep his family in our prayers. 43-year-old man lost his life. It's got very little or nothing to do, in my humble opinion, in the long term, with whether or not there's an NFL player involved and his brother and all of that. To me, that's aside. There's a bunch of ignorance involved, and a man who volunteers on behalf or for kids and has devoted a lot of his life on behalf of that devotion to those kids, lost his life in front of his wife, in front of his kids. And when I say kid, his own biological child and the kids in that park, and that's unfortunate. We got to do better. That is too far. If you didn't hear it, make sure that you listen to the first part of it when we got into a bunch of analysis on the topic of youth sports in general. But I just wanted to say his name again. Michael Hickman, your family will remain in our prayers. This episode of the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, where we called it too far. We appreciate you guys coming in and joining us and being a part of the live recording. Those of you who are in our live audience, we ask you humbly, please like, please comment, please share, please tag a friend, please tag a foe, please tag anybody you know. My man Dapper Dan back there on this side. There he is. Because the Ball Hawk Sports Talk is in the building. And please subscribe to both our YouTube channel and to our podcast. It's been a great show. My man, the Big Flow Show from the Windy City of Chicago in the Central Time Zone is now on the bird, or at least head to the airport to go out to Europe. We'll see if he can get with us next week to make us even more international. My man ETP came to you from the East Coast and brought it the way that he knows how to bring it. Ellis, the producer, did his thing. I am your boy, B Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hawk, a.k.a. the Mountain South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, a.k.a. Brazy. It's been a great show. Join us next week for the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. The crew does it one way and one way only. Rough, rugged, and raw. We'll see you next week, because this show, Too Far, is officially over, and we is out. Peace.